Let us tell you why aeration's good for a pond.
Hey everybody, this is Andrew and Blake with Decker's Pondscapes. Today is another Tech Tip Tuesday, and Blake's already soaking wet.
Had to get in.
So today we're gonna be installing an AirMax PS20 aeration unit. So what's different about this fountain and the aeration unit that we're gonna be putting in is that this fountain does aerate, but just a tiny little bit. Now this client has fish, so with this new PS20 AirMax unit, it's gonna have diffusers all the way at the bottom, so that will push the air and all the gases through from the bottom of the earthen pond all the way up to the top. All right, so we've taken all the components out of the truck and we kind of just laid them out. We want to make sure that we have all the bits and pieces that we need to install this properly. So one of the first things that we wanted to check on was our weighted airline. Now this is going to connect between the diffuser pads and the unit itself. Now next to that, we have our diffuser pads. So this does require a little bit of a build. Doesn't take very long, about 2 minutes. Wouldn't you say so, Bob? We're just double checking and making sure that everything is inside this AirMax unit and that we have all the fittings that go with it as well, which include a few hose barbs and hose clamps. We have our junction box, which we're gonna need, different assortments of gaskets and O-rings, some air filters as well. And then we have some sheathing that we're gonna put around our lines. Gives it a little bit of extra protection. All right, so now that Bob's got his flat spot for our PS20 AirMax system, now what Bob's gonna be doing next is he's going to dig a hole and install this junction box. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can make a nice clean connection between the aeration unit and the weighted line, and then make it much easier to winterize this feature. Blake is over here assembling all the parts to the diffuser. It's like playing with Legos, right, Blake?
I love Legos. Adult Legos.
Adult Legos. Well, what's awesome about these systems is that it actually gives you a step-by-step on how to construct your diffuser the appropriate way, and which parts, pieces, fittings, clamps, it's all in there and what you're gonna need. Now that Bob's got his junction box installed, he dug a little trench so we can get our weighted airline into the pond. Blake's got this weighted airline hooked up to our diffusers. Next step is we're going to connect them to our PS20 system. There are a couple more hose barbs and clamps that are going to be hooked up in here. Bob is just making sure that we're not getting any dirt inside the line. That's why we have that saw right there. But once we get our hoses connected, we're gonna run them through this little trench, bury them. Then we're gonna place the diffusers out in the pond. Generally, what we're looking for is the deepest point of the earthen pond, so that way we can ensure that we are pushing up air from the bottom of the pond all the way to the top. Bob is out in the boat. Blake is feeding him the weighted airline, so that way Bob can drop the diffuser where he wants and then run the weighted airline back to us. The reason why we're doing it this way is just to make sure we have enough weighted line to make it to the spot we want. If we do not, we do have extra line, so that way we'll just be able to connect a new piece and make it all the way back to the aeration unit. If we do it from the other way around, if Bob takes the diffuser alone without the weighted airline, it kind of drags Bob backwards and makes it really hard for him to get out in the boat. So we got this first line in, and then we realized 2 guys is better than 1 in the boat. It's a lot easier to row and release that line. Right, Bob?
Oh, a lot easier.
Struggling there for a second?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so we got Blake and Bob in the boat. We're gonna go get that second diffuser out. This one is going over in that corner. The first one they just swam out, well, they boated out rather, and placed it about right in the middle of the edge of the pond and this fountain.
It's days like these that I enjoy spending time with my favorite colleague, the great Bob Grabowski.
So now that Bob and Blake are back from their little boat ride, we've got our weighted airline in our little trench that we've got into the junction box, and we have some extra, so Bob's just going to saw off the extra weighted airline so that way we don't have a big mess in this junction box. What Bob's gonna do after that, he's gonna connect these 2 hoses and we're gonna give this thing a test.
Testing.
So now what we're gonna be doing is we're going to be taking this hose barb, it's a reducer hose barb from 3/8 to 5/8 inch, so that way we can connect our weighted airline and our airline that goes directly into the compressor. So it's extremely important that before you plug into the main power, that you are going to plug in the compressor to the main switch inside. So now that we've got everything plugged in, ready to go, it's time to flip the switch. So now that everything's tested and running perfectly, Bob is going to backfill his trench, get the cover back on that junction box. We're gonna clean up the area, get all of our stuff, and then we're gonna head out of here.
Well, Andrew, it was a pleasure working with you today. We're really happy to have you guys clear up this water and make it so my fish friends and I can breathe better.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are happy. Well, enjoy.
I'll see you next time.
If you like this kind of stuff, please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, do what you gotta do. Follow us on all of our other social media platforms. And as always, enjoy your families.